Welcome to Enigmatica 2 Expert. So today's video, another late game automation, automating the advanced Carpenter from Modular Machinery with RFTools control. It's kind of a overcomplicated program and there's easier ways to do things, but I thought it was kind of a fun challenge and it turned out pretty cool. So I wanted to make a video because it's a single player world and I got nobody else to show. So I guess all good automations start with some kind of a demo. That's presumably why you're watching. So if we look at a ludicrate block, we will see this stuff has to happen for it to get made. So we're just going to watch this box. Something's going to populate in here in a second. There's the recipe. It detects what's there. It should push fluid, or did I miss it? Okay, I already missed the fluid. And then the token disappeared. So it's done. Craft complete. So there, it worked. Now for me to try to explain concisely what happened. I got an interface here with the various patterns. And it might be good to actually look at this blueprint to say, okay, we need DNA to make this guy, primal mana to make this guy. We got some water circuits. And of course, you can make these circuits with the Carpenter. They're maybe a little more expensive, a little less fluid, I guess. But this was just kind of a fun challenge. That's why I did it. And with these seeds, you know, you could do it with a Carpenter, but what's the fun in that? So I went through here and I picked what recipes I wanted. I didn't want all of them. I only wanted the ones that made sense. And here they are so far. And I can add to them if I need, but right now this is all I have. And every single one of these has a token in it. And the token is an imprint of what the final result's going to be. So each one of these, the token is actually imprinted with this item type. And if we just grab one of them, like the ludicrate, pop it into the pattern, clear that, have a look. It's very important that the recipe starts with a token and then you can see the value. So the first thing has to be the token because that's what gets read. You'll see that later in the program. And then the rest of the ingredients. And of course, with all things AE2, blocking mode for these advanced crafts is required. You don't want to push too many recipes into the advanced Carpenter because, especially if you call different ones, the fluids would mix up, the recipes would mix up. It's a gong show. So a big part of the token is not only does it tell you what I want, so it can gather what type of fluid I need, it also holds an item in here, the tokens in here, so nothing else can get pushed in until the token leaves. So that's kind of like a flow control. And of course, your interface with your different fluids, and these nodes can interact. It can push into here, push into the trash if a recipe fails. For testing, I had a lot of extra commands, but so far the system's robust, and I haven't had to void or dump fluid in a while. Those are just artifacts of when I was trying to build this the first time around. So when the items show up in here, this probe connector is a comparator from Immersive Engineering, and it gets an output signal saying, hey, this thing's not empty. There's an item in there. So it goes to this node, which fires the first program. And I don't know how to best explain this, so I'm just going to start, I guess. There's 3 cards. Each one of them has access to certain parts of the processor. This is the main program, the liquid program, and the craft program. So here's variables for storing information, whether it's numbers, counts, or items, item data types. And this is actual item transfer, and this is liquid transfer. So the green is what the program has access to, and you reference the slot by the number and the variable by the number. This is the liquid, so again, you reference it by the number, which is what this multi-tank is here. And it only has access to these. And then this is the craft that has access to everything. The probe connector, the comparator, sends a pulse saying, hey, there's an item there. Like, you could just use like a repeat to say, hey, every n ticks check, but it has to run all this logic. And I just feel like it's better to give it a pulse to say, hey, something's there, have a look at it. I don't want it running all the time because I feel like it can't be good for the world's performance. But anyways, that node is going to check what's there, and it's going to examine the item in slot 0, which, if you remember, is my token. My token should show up here in slot 0. And then it does an item test equality. This one happens to be empty. It was for testing. But now we have all the different color forestry tokens, the basic circuit, enhanced, refined, and intricate. And if it sees any of those items are in there from this comparison, it goes green to run the next program. So all of these are actually water 5000 because that's what it costs to make each of these tokens. And if it's none of them, it goes to the next check, which is down here. And then it's the Ludicrite, Wyvern, the Wyvern Core, Draconic Core, and what is that? T6, Insanium 6. Why did I call it T6? Doesn't matter. Oh, Tier 6. Sewage 500. And so if it's any of those items, it calls again the next routine that it needs. And if it's not any of them, it just lets me know, hey, there must be an error, and it prints it to the console. And then, based on what liquid it figures it needs to send, it gets it. So it goes to the fetch, and it actually fetches from this interface to here, to this tank, to this tank back there. And then once the liquid lands in that tank back there, there's just an ender conduit that puts it into the modular machinery. There's just you can't see it, but that conduit there goes into a fluid input port. And for most of these, 500 millibuckets is easy enough to fetch and then go to the craft. But for water, you can only transfer 4,000 at a time, and we need 5,000. So I have to wait to let the AE2 system fill back up. That's like 3 seconds. And then get the remaining amount. And then same for the redstone, 10,000, you got to transfer 4, wait, and then 4, and then 2. And then again, call the craft. And this is for diagnostics. Basically, this let me fill something up by 500. It's kind of handy because a bucket, gets you 1,000 millibuckets, right? So getting partials, filling up certain things is very handy. And dumping. If I had a failed craft, I could get rid of the liquid without wasting it by pushing it back into the interface. Or if the interface wouldn't take it, I also had a system for voiding it into this trash can. So onto the craft. The craft gets called. It says, okay, ignoring the token that's still in that first slot of the shulker box, count how many items are there, minus that token, store it, and then do a loop. So it does the green path. It goes to the shulker box, grabs the item, puts it in the processor, then from the processor, it pushes it into the advanced machine, and then it says it sent the item. And then it keeps looping until the amount of items that it had detected in the shulker box, minus the token, is done. And then once it's moved everything, it goes and it moves 4,000 liquids. Doesn't matter what the liquid is. That's why I do it 3 times to account for the worst case scenario, which is 10,000 redstone. So just try it 3 times, wait, and then I think I had it wait that many seconds because I figured if it got this far, the craft must be successful, and then take the token out. And what it does is it pushes the token into this wooden crate, takes the token out of here, puts the token down there, and then sent back to the system. And then the next recipe can come in. And so for configuring these tokens, if I was going to add a recipe, what I would have to do is go to this program, come here, put an item that I want in there, and then do the set token. And then I would imprint a stack or more if needed of whatever I wanted. So as a last demonstration, to make a intricate circuit, which you can see is this recipe, or here is slightly more expensive, but obviously easier to do, I need these 3 circuits. So if I get rid of the blue ones, so it has to at least make 1 set, and I ask for one of these, it's going to say, hey, we have these ones, but we need to make this one. And then here's the tokens for this guy, and start. So it sends 1 recipe, reads the card, grabs the ingredients. You'll see the water hopefully get pushed in. It happens so quickly you can't see. And then here's the next ingredient. And then once it's done, the token gets pulled out. And one more example, just so you can see the worst case scenario. This is the redstone one. $10,000 redstone. So if we push start, puts the item in, reads the card, grabs the core, then you should see the redstone push into there. It's really quickly, but it happened. Nice. And then of course we look at our crafting status and everything's happy, everything's complete.